I am sorry that you have to put up with me again. Unfortunately, our colleagues from Heidelberg Cement, who were coming to give the perspective of the cement sector, were not able to be here. But I have some legitimacy to talk about this because I was involved in the Cement Sustainability Initiative for about 5 years until last summer, when I moved much more into the buildings and cities area. But I would primarily like to give recognition to the companies who are driving this work as part of the CSI, Cement Sustainability Initiative, and especially what I will talk about today on a responsible sourcing scheme for concrete, why the industry thinks they should develop this, and where they're at in that development. And so Heidelberg Cement, together with CEMEX, are the co-chair of that work stream within CSI. And of course, we're also having a lot of support from companies like Lafarge, Holcim, CRH, Votorantim, Argos, more from the Americas, to really drive this. So to show it's a global initiative, and we do see similar trends in different markets, maybe a bit at different maturity levels, but really the sector as a whole is trying to really play an active role. So the cement group, of course, faces many challenges. Big one among them, safety. We always mention safety first because this is about people coming home after a work day. And so that is a big challenge, and the CSI is addressing it with indicators, with reporting, with analysis of incidents, etc. It's still an industry where, unfortunately, too many incidents are happening, but it's being taken very, very seriously up to the top level in the companies. Of course, climate protection, big issue for an industry that emits above 5% of all CO2 emissions, so to be taken very, very seriously. Biodiversity and water, especially biodiversity, is actually an opportunity area. You see today a lot of quarry rehabilitation projects where fantastic things are happening. And so that's it's a beautiful area to be involved in also within cement groups. And of course the issue around water. I'll talk a little bit about the work on sustainable construction. That's, just to come back, CSI started 15 years ago, and in 2002 it was the original agenda for action, which really focused within the cement, the gates of the cement manufacturing plant. In 2010, we then took a step outward to say we really, in order to address sustainability, we also need to look downstream as well as upstream. So we've added especially the area around sustainability with concrete, but of course also issues around supply chain management, co-processing water, etc. So those are issues that are still relatively new, but we're now 5 years into this new work program. So this is what the companies are currently working on. Responsible sourcing certification system for concrete and cement. It was initiated by CSI, but then really reaching out to the industry, concrete, aggregates, admixtures associations, to really get the whole concrete supply chain on board as well, because it's very important. CSI in cement is about 30% of the global market, but when it comes to the concrete market, it's less than 10%. So it's very important for the players in CSI to really have those groups on board. Clearly the market drivers, I think many of them have been mentioned. It's increasing green public procurement guidelines. It's rating schemes. LEED version 4 will move into this, will give points to these kind of systems. And of course, contractors, developers like Skanska, but there are also others increasingly asking that. And of course, competing industries are also moving in that direction. So that's very important. So it's really a value chain pull that you see, and the industry is reacting to that and saying, well, we need to provide more and better information, all the way from the primary producer to the concrete producer, contractor, and then finally the end users, investors, customers, etc. So this responsible sourcing certification scheme should create more transparency on how concrete is produced, what is its environmental and social impact, to promote more responsible practices within the industry, and really to improve the resource efficiency, but also the social contribution of the product. And of course, to do this with stakeholder engagement. It's really about improving performance. The industry believes in incremental performance and improvements and really get better, and this scheme should help on that journey. But to improve the transparency of what is being done and finally impact the rating schemes and the assessment schemes that are finally making judgments increasingly on whether a material is or not sustainable. So just very briefly, how does this scheme look like? And I will not go into details, but it's broken up into 4 parts: management systems, and then environmental, social, and economic aspects. And the economic part, as well as the social part, are of course very important because it's a complex sector. We're still faced in many, many economies with a large informal sector, so you really have to address those types of issues as well to show that you're a responsible producer. The weighting is roughly like it is shown here, 35% on management, 35% on environmental, and the rest divided by social and economic indicators. This is a bit the nitty-gritty right now, where the developments are now happening, how to actually create this whole certification structure from the provider to the auditor, who is actually certifying, who operates the scheme, and who accredits that scheme operator. So we're working on that, and we're also developing now a tool that will help gather all the information and have a relatively simple way of showing the outcomes from those assessments. So we're still in the middle of it. Currently that software is being customized, and then companies will start piloting this in different markets, in Europe, but also in the US and in Latin America. There will be several pilot projects to see how does this really work, is this really going to give the output that's needed? And then, of course, there will be a much bigger push on communication and also involve larger stakeholder groups, NGOs, etc. And we see this will be primarily rolled out in Europe, US, and Latin America at this point. That's also where the founding partners are coming from. But we do hope, especially through the footprint the CSI has also in Asia and Africa, that this will be taken up also in other markets. What's key is it's a global scheme, but it can be also customized to the regional issues. You can do that through the weighting, but also through some of the way things are defined in the different categories. So I think the message here is that this is one industry that has started many, many years ago addressing their footprint internally. They have targets on CO2 per ton of cement, for example, or targets on emissions and other. So really an industry that is addressing its own footprint. We also know that only gets us somewhat to where we need to go. So increasingly also the industry wants to work along the value chain, but also make sure it's being recognized as acting and really doing the right thing going forward. So thank you also for your attention on this. And again, I'd really like to recognize the companies who are behind all this work. Thank you.